Hey everybody, welcome to the Elevate Talk Show. I am your host, Deanna Johnson Cauthen.
And I'm Adrianna Cauthen, your co-host, and we're the mother-daughter talk show that's here to elevate your family. If you haven't done so already, please take a second to like this video and to subscribe so that you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes.
Yes, we have a terrific episode planned for you today. In our Around the Town segment, we're going to be taking you to a really fun place. It's called Providence Canyon State Park. We actually went there. It's been a couple of years. We went there at the beginning of the pandemic, and just a terrific place. I've been to a lot of state parks. We've been to a lot of state parks, but we've never been to this one. Really wonderful terrain. Beautiful place to take pictures and just to explore. So you absolutely want to stay with us when we visit Providence Canyon State Park. Also, in our perspective segment, that's the segment where Adrianna and I talk about a particular subject. We're going to be talking about the subject of burnout. It is a very real thing, and unfortunately a lot of us as Americans are suffering from burnout. So we talk about that a little bit, and then we continue the conversation with Laura Carver. Laura is a nurse, and she talks about how burnout has affected her in her work as a nurse, working during a pandemic. She gave some really good insights, but she also gave some talked about things that she does to help with that. And so you want to stay tuned for our interview with Laura Carver. What else?
Yes, and this week in our Meal of the Week segment, I'm going to be showing you how to make an easy onion ring recipe.
Onion rings are delicious, and Adrianna makes them even more delicious. And so you want to make sure you tune in for the Meal of the Week, which in this case will be onion rings, right?
Yeah.
Well, we need to take a break. Don't go away. We will be right back. Welcome back to the Elevate Talk Show. And in our perspective segment, we are going to be talking about something called burnout. Now, we've probably all heard the word, but what does it really mean? And is it a real phenomenon? That's the question of the day. What is burnout, and how can we avoid it? So I want to share this comment with you from an article I read in The Atlantic, an online magazine, and it was written by a man named Ed Zitron, who talks about the subject of burnout. And here's a short quote from the article. He says this: "Physical sickness is one thing, but burnout is significantly more insidious. It isn't simply a case of being tired, but the result of feeling overloaded, helpless, and hopeless. It isn't just too much work, but the sense that it will never end and that you will never get relief." So based on that, first of all, do you agree with that? And have you ever felt or experienced that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree, and I think that we've all felt burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people associate burnout with like having a stressful job, but you can also be burnt out by other things in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be burnt out by like the pandemic that's going on,
absolutely.
or like by
Yeah.
a relationship, or by something else that's stressful in your life.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily just a work-related thing.
I think that's a really, really important thing. I think you mentioned two things: relationships, because you can have that sense of it's never going to get better. You've been in a bad relationship for so long, and you just feel like there's never going to be any change. It's hopeless. I'm helpless. And, we know people, or we may ourselves have even been in relationships with like that. And so I think it's important for people to understand it's not just about the job you're going to every day. The other thing is the pandemic. I think we could all agree on one thing: no matter what your feelings are about vaccinations or variants or whatever political stance you may have, that it's been almost 2 years. March of this year will be 2 years, and there's that sense of fatigue.
Yeah.
Of like, is this ever going to end? I remember feeling at the beginning of this pandemic, back in March of 2020, that okay, we're in a pandemic, but it's going to be over probably by the end of the year, at the very latest, maybe the beginning of 2021.
Yeah.
But here we are in the winter
Yeah.
of 2022, and yet with yet another variant. What are we on now?
Omicron.
Yeah, and it's like, and so I've been struggling with this sense of, is this ever going to end? Is there any hope? Is there any help? So I think that's really good. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think hopelessness is definitely a really huge factor in burnout. Because, like, if you know there's a light at the end of the tunnel, I think that makes it easier for you to power through. But if you think that there's never going to be any change, it's like, I mean, how do you move
mentally
forward?
wrap your brain around that? Like I said at the beginning of the pandemic, I was so with me being an entertainer, I was making little songs about things and videos, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we were just, it was like, we're in this together. But now it's, there's been so much, it's been so long, and there's been so much divisiveness. It does feel like, is there any help? But, and I don't want to underestimate the burnout aspect of work, because you can feel overloaded. I think it's hard for a lot of industries right now, when you have less, what do you call, manpower, less personnel. Everywhere you go, you see help wanted signs, and so which shows you that there's a lot less people to do the same amount of work.
Yeah.
That can definitely make you feel burned out. You're one of the few people that are working to carry on a job that was meant for I don't know how many people, but now you're down to your a skeleton crew. So I think that burnout is probably something we're dealing with now more than ever. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, and to continue the conversation, we're going to come back after the break and talk with Laura Carver, who is a nurse, and she talks intimately about her own issues with fatigue and burnout, and about some of the things that she has done to get to a better place. So we need to take a break. Don't go away. We will be back.
Welcome back to the Elevate Talk Show, and now we're going to be continuing our conversation on burnout with Laura Carver.
Yes, Laura Carver is a labor and delivery nurse at a hospital in South Carolina, and she talks to us intimately about the joys, but also the struggles and the trials that come with being a labor and delivery nurse in the middle of a pandemic. Lots of stress, and she talks specifically about burnout and what she does to address it. So please turn your attention to our interview with Laura Carver. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be with me today on the Elevate Talk Show. I think this is a subject that a lot of people are going to want to hear about. So let's just go ahead and get started. Can you share with my audience a little bit about what you do and about what a typical day looks like for you?
Wow, that's a good one. So I'm a nurse. I'm a labor and delivery nurse.
Mhm.
I have been an L&D nurse since 1991.
Wow.
Before that, I was a neuromed surg nurse from 89 to 91.
Mhm.
I love my job 99.9% of the time.
Yes.
I'm blessed. I'm blessed to do what I love to do.
What I want to know is, as a labor and delivery nurse during a pandemic, what does that look like?
Well, first of all, there was this notion to begin with that I think is abating, that we didn't have COVID in labor and delivery.
Right.
That for some reason, we didn't deal with that. We didn't see that. Our patients didn't have it.
I think that's very true.
And of course, in as labor and delivery nurses, we don't see as much severe illness and disease as other areas of the hospital do. So for us, it was completely different dealing with it.
Yes.
Seeing these patients so sick that they did leave us sometimes and go to ICU,
Right.
that they were so sick they had to have these C-sections. So just from our standpoint, that was hard to adjust to. That was hard to accept. It became dread walking in the door to find out what you were going to have today.
Oh my God. Oh my God. And I can only imagine.
And every time we hit a peak in this pandemic and they say, okay, this is the peak. This is going to get better. It's done. It's over with.
Yeah.
And then we have another one.
Yeah.
And now we're having another one.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's when is it going to end?
Exactly.
And like I said, from a labor delivery standpoint, it's been much better for me than it has been for, say, the ICU nurses,
Sure.
or the ER nurses.
Sure.
You know, their load is so tremendous right now. I don't know how they're doing it.
Oh my goodness. Which leads me, that's a good segue into my next question. Recently, I came across an article in The Atlantic, which is a national magazine, written by a man named Ed Zitron, who talks about the subject of burnout. He talks about his work in general, but burnout in particular. And here's a short quote from the article. He says, "Physical sickness is one thing, but burnout is significantly more insidious. It isn't simply a case of being tired, but the result of feeling overloaded, helpless, and hopeless. It isn't just too much work, but the sense that it will never end and that you will never get relief." That's what he said. And what I want to know is, do you agree with this statement, and how has burnout looked for you personally?
I 100% agree with that statement.
Wow.
And it's even more insidious than you realize, because you want to blame it on other things.
Right.
You're not getting enough exercise. You're not doing this. You're not doing something right.
Right.
Nurses have a very hard time sitting back and saying, I am burnt out.
Right.
I don't know if that's seen as a flaw.
Right.
You know, I don't know if they're supposed to suffer burnout.
Sure.
But it seems to be very hard for here to recognize that they are burned out.
Sure.
And it creeps into, you don't realize it. It's everybody else's fault. Everybody does something to trigger you. Everybody makes you angry. On your days off, you don't want to get out of bed. You're so tired because you've worked so hard. But all those are signs and symptoms of everything, and everyone around you triggers a negative emotion. You have to stand back and realize it's probably not them, it's you.
Wow.
And that's a very hard thing for us to admit.
And so is that what was happening for you?
When I went through the burnout that actually caused me to step away from nursing about 6 years ago, I actually quit my job, went back to school and got my bachelor's degree, and came back. And it wasn't until the last 6 months of getting my bachelor's degree, and I started doing research and doing articles and papers on compassion fatigue, that I realized that was me.
Oh my.
Because when you're in the middle of it, you don't recognize it. It's that self-awareness that you don't have because you're in the middle of the situation.
Exactly.
But yeah, it actually led to me calling my husband from work one day and saying, I'm quitting my job. I'm not doing this anymore.
Wow.
Because it had gotten to that point. But again, at that point, I was where it was everybody else's fault.
Right.
Everybody at work was making me angry. I didn't have any patience with the young nurses.
Yeah.
But to me at the time, it was all their fault.
Right.
And then it took actually away and getting out of the situation to be able to say, when the problem is every single person around you, the problem is actually you.
It's you. Wow.
You know?
That is really, really powerful. But you only came upon that when you stepped out of the situation, which is something some of us may need to do. Is stepping back, stepping away. It could be temporarily, it could be long-term, but doing what you need to do to get a better perspective. Because like you said, when you're in the situation, you don't have perspective. Not when you're so burnt out. I think you're just completely weary. Now, next question. It's been almost 2 years since this pandemic started. And you, as well as many others in the field, have been on the front lines. What do you do to preserve your physical and mental health? What are you doing to stay healthy?
Well, the first time I had my little breakdown over all this, I reached out to you and Andrew.
Right.
Just passion and support. You you have this thing about asking too much from your close friends and family.
Yes.
You feel like they get tired of hearing, they don't want to hear you talk about it anymore.
Sure.
So you have to realize we as people, we need that support. We need that input from other people that we are okay, that we're
Yes.
not, fighting a battle by ourselves.
Sure.
And it's hard to ask that. It's hard to
Yeah.
ask for that,
Right.
but
Right.
you still need support. You still need to know it's okay to ask for that support.
Absolutely. And the support can be informal, like you said, talking with friends, talking with family, or it could be more formal, as in, finding a support group, or, an organized support group, or even getting, therapy, one-on-one therapy. Don't you think? It's whatever you need to do to get to a better place.
And to most people in healthcare, our health benefits that are available,
Yes.
we have access to psychological counseling through our workplace,
Sure.
through our employee benefits.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people may not be aware of it. A lot of people may be hesitant to use it, but it's there for a reason. It's available. Make use of it.
Absolutely.
It's okay.
It is okay. And I think we need to hear that. I think there's such a stigma with mental health, getting the help we need in general. And I know as an African-American, it seems to be even more of a stigma for whatever reason in the African-American community. We wouldn't have, you as a nurse can, I'm sure, identify with this. If I were to tell you I had, a gastrointestinal problem, or if I was having problems with my kidneys, or if I needed knee surgery or back surgery, that doesn't seem to be much of a stigma when you're dealing with those types of physical issues. But for whatever reason, people feel, I don't know, like it's something wrong with saying I'm having some mental health issues. What is that?
For so long in our culture and in our society, and you talk about among African Americans,
yes,
and then you factor in the people of our age.
Yes,
we're supposed to be tough. We're supposed to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps.
Yes.
We are who everybody else depends on to get them through. So we're not supposed to have problems.
Exactly.
And there's still the refusal for people to see that most of the time,
yes,
especially depression and severe anxiety, are simple chemical imbalance in the brain.
Right.
If your blood sugar's out of control, you take something to control your blood sugar. If your serotonin uptake is not working like it's supposed to, then you take something to control your serotonin uptake. That helps with depression, that helps with anxiety.
Wow.
Any other physical we have, we take something to correct the physical ailment.
Exactly.
And that is another factor to look at too, especially in our group.
Yes.
You may have other things going on that are actually worsening the depression that you don't realize. The importance of having a primary care provider. And we don't take the time for ourselves, which again leads to that burnout. But we have to take time for self-care. You may have problems going on with your blood pressure, with your blood sugar, with a number of different things that are actually contributing to this depression. Taking the time, take that time to take the 2 hours. Go have a primary care visit with your doctor. Get out from head to toe. You owe yourself.
Yeah, that is so good. And I think you as a nurse, this, of course, because the physical, of course, affects the emotional, it affects the psychological. And like you said, there could be other underlying issues going on. But I think that the fact that we kind of just push past that makes that's what causes burnout, when we push past the things and we don't take the time out to go to the doctor, but also to do things like go to bed, go to sleep, eat, make a good balanced meal. All those things are also a part of self-care, don't you think?
Yes, definitely sit down in the evening, drink you a cup of hot tea.
Definitely.
Drink you a cup of coffee.
Yes.
Read a book.
Yes.
Take an hour and read a book. Yeah. That's what you do for yourself. You're not wasting time.
Yes.
You're creating space for yourself. You're creating sanctuary for yourself that you have to have from
Yeah.
getting burnout.
We're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Elevate Talk Show. We are now going to take you around the town to Providence Canyon State Park in Lumpkin, Georgia. We went and visited there as a family, a couple of years ago. I think it was really probably right at the beginning of the pandemic. And a terrific place. We've been to a lot of state parks, but I've never been to this one, and it's very different from any state park that I've been to. Would you say so?
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, I had no idea that there was a canyon in Georgia, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's one right here.
Oh, absolutely. So just super interesting terrain, as you can imagine, if you're looking at a canyon. So please turn your attention to our adventures at Providence Canyon State Park. Providence Canyon State Park is a Georgia state park located in Lumpkin, Georgia, approximately 2.5 hours southwest of Atlanta. The park contains Providence Canyon, which is sometimes called Georgia's Little Grand Canyon. It is considered one of the 7 natural wonders of Georgia. Georgia's Little Grand Canyon is a sobering reminder to the power of man's influence on the land. Because of poor farming practices during the 1800s, enormous gullies as deep as 150 feet developed. Yet today, they make some of the prettiest photographs within the state. The canyon soil's pink, orange, red, and purple hues make a beautiful natural painting. The canyon is home to a variety of deciduous and evergreen trees, as well as plants and flowers that fill its 1,003 acres. Visitors can enjoy views of the canyon from the rim trail, taking care to stay behind fences and off the fragile canyon edge. Hikers who explore the deepest canyons will usually find a thin layer of water along the trail, indication of the water table below. Guests who hike the canyons 4 and 5 may want to join the Canyon Climbers Club. Backpackers are allowed to stay overnight along the backcountry trail, but must be mindful to follow the rules for safety as they make their way through the mixed forest. If you're looking for an outdoor adventure that is second to none, come and explore Providence Canyon State Park. For more information about Providence Canyon State Park, visit www.gastateparks.org/Providence Canyon. Well, we hope you enjoyed our time at Providence Canyon State Park. We need to take a little break, but don't go away. We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome to our Meal of the Week segment. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a really easy onion ring recipe. So let's get started. So we're going to start off by making our onion ring batter. So I'm putting in 1 cup of flour, 1.5 cups of milk, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, and I'm going to put in 2 eggs. And I'm just going to whisk all that together. Finish the batter, I'm going to move on to our next step. So in order to get a really crispy coating, we're going to actually layer 3 different types of coatings on top of each other. I made the batter, and now we're going to do a flour coating, and then we're going to top things off with breadcrumbs. So I have a cup of flour in this bowl right here, and I am going to add in 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. If you don't have smoked paprika, you can use regular paprika, it'll be just fine. And I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons of black pepper. And I'm just going to whisk all of those ingredients together. Okay, so now that I've done our batter and our flour cutting, I'm going to bring in our onion rings and our breadcrumbs, and we're going to move on to the rest of the recipe. Everything ready, we've got the onions cut up, the batter ready, and we've got our flour and our breadcrumbs. So now it's time to coat the onion rings and put them in some hot oil and let them fry up. So I'm going to start. I'm just going to separate a few rings. And I'm going to start by dipping these in the flour. And then I'm going to dip them in our batter. And then I'm going to give them a coating of breadcrumbs. And then I can just stick that straight into the hot oil. So let me do a couple more. So I'm just going to put some flour on. Then stick it in the batter, and then coat it with some breadcrumbs. So I'm going to let these onion rings cook in the hot oil for a couple of minutes on each side, and then I'll be back to show you the final results. Onion rings are ready and they look very delicious. I have them right here with a nice burger, and they pair very nicely together. So I'm going to give you a close-up shot so that you can see how they look. Enjoyed this recipe, and I can't wait to see you again next week.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that delicious onion ring recipe. We need to take a break. Don't go away. We will be back.
Welcome back to the Elevate Talk Show. Our time is almost up, but before we go, we have a couple of things we want to share with you. First of all, we just started a new business directory. So if you own a business and you're looking for a free place to get your name out there and advertise your business, you can become a part of our directory. All you have to do is put the name of your business and your contact information, your phone, your email address, and your website in the comments below, and subscribe to our channel, and we will add your business to our business directory for free.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great way to just kind of get some free advertisement. Also, the Elevate Talk Show has a wonderful new magnet, and we would love to send you a refrigerator magnet for free. So please go to our YouTube channel, again, subscribe, and just email us or put in the comment section of the YouTube page your address, and we will send you out a free Elevate Talk Show refrigerator magnet right away. So you don't want to miss out on that either. Adrianna, remind the audience of how they can see us and our shows and view us.
Well, we upload new shows every week. You can watch us on the DeKalb County Public Access Channel, Channel 25, if you live in DeKalb County and you've got Comcast. You can also see us on YouTube. We upload to the YouTube every week, or you can catch us on DeKalb25.com.
Yes, and view us at 7 p.m. live on DeKalb25.com. So lots of ways to catch the Elevate Talk Show. We want to thank you to all of our viewers. We're so thrilled that y'all are watching the show. We look at the analytics and we see that the numbers are growing, and we don't take that for granted. So a big thank you to all of the people who watch us each week, and to all of our new viewers. Keep watching and tell your friends about the Elevate Talk Show. Thank you for being with us this week, and we will see you next time on the Elevate Talk Show. See you later.
Bye.
Bye now.